Yeah, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Ryder, and I'm starting this over again because something was wrong in my previous recording, but it was a good practice. So right now we're finna create a new session from scratch in Pro Tools, and you can use any DAW of your choice. For us audio guys, it's a digital audio workstation, is where you record your stuff when you click your mouse inside your computer. I use Pro Tools. You can use Logic Pro, Cubase. I've used them as well. Studio One, you could use Reaper. If you want, you can even use Fruity Loops, which is FL Studio right now, but it's a little bit different. So in order to do that, we'll create our fresh new session. We'll call it Template 2025 Wave. You want to choose 48 kilohertz or 44.1. Then you want to choose either 24-bit or 32-bit. Choose 32 if you really don't know what you're doing, or else you would not watch this video. I will choose 24 and we'll create a session. And once you open Pro Tools, it's nothing in the mixer, nothing in the edit window, nothing fresh. You're gonna wanna create a click track first. Click track is a metronome track, so we'll just call it metronome. We'll give it a color that I like, make it small. And then there's a conductor track. If it's turned on like that, then it means you can have different BPMs. So we're gonna use 1, turn the conductor off, put it at 140, and then you click the conductor or not, but never mind. We're gonna use the manual one, switch the conductor track off. So now what you wanna do is go to track, new, and you wanna create one master fader. We'll just call it equals master. I'll just do it like I do it. Then it's gonna be a stereo. Then we'll create one track for the beat. So stereo, we'll call it beat full. We'll create 2 tracks mono because we're recording a microphone. The microphone is 1 channel, 1 wire, 1 vocal. So 1 mono, call it main. Create 2 mono audio tracks, actually 3. I usually make 1 extra track. If I want to record 1, I'll make 2. If I need to record 2, I'll make 3, that kind of stuff. So 3 back and 2 ad-libs, all right? Then we need to somehow group it all together. So we'll create 1 routing folder and we're gonna call it equals beat all. This is gonna be all, like everything that includes everything that has to do with the beats. Then we'll do 1 routing folder that has to do with vocals, and I call it voc all. And we're gonna make 1 stereo audio reference. We'll just call it ref. Is the structure all right? Click, metronome, master, beat, 2 mains, 3 backs, 2 ad-libs, 1 for references. Oh, and we'll make a few more. 1 reverb, 1 delay, and we'll make 1 more routing folder for those. We're gonna call it equals FX all. All right, that's a lot of stuff. Let's just give it some colors. So master, I like to do that and put it last. Reference, I like to give it that color and I put it right after the metronome. Beat all and voc all and effects all, I like to give it that color. Reverb and delay, that color. Ad-libs, the same color. Backs are gonna be orange. Mains are gonna be yellow, and the beat full is gonna be some sort of a brownish reddish color. So where do we start? We just start doing that. Everything is following into master. These tracks, they're not simple folders, they're routing folders. We're gonna route tracks into there. First off, let's just, start dropping the tracks. So the beat full will go there. Everything of the vocal type will go there. And effects will go there. All right, so you can now do that if you want, but we also need to route stuff. So we'll take the beat and we'll actually send it to the beat all instead of the master, like so. boom, beat all. Then these guys you select with a shift, but it's a Pro Tools thing, you have to learn it. I did, and it's all right, you know, it's all right. So you hold shift and alt, clicking in one place will affect all the selected files. So you do that, click the output, which is master, and then you send it to a what? To Voc All. That's right. And the same with effects, you send them to effects all. So we'll take a signal generator and we'll see that the main one will actually flow the signal into the Voc all. The backs will do the same thing, and that will do the same thing. The beat full will also push the sound into the beat all, and anything in effects will push that into effects all, which will then just push the sound through to the master. The reference file will go just to master, and the click will just go to master as well. It is now working. Actually, let me explain why everything is going to the master, but the beat all, Voc all, and effects all. Because master is not made to be doing things with it. You know, there's no control in here. Of course, there's a control in the mixer, but we're not doing that. Master is made to, you know, monitor stuff. You never touch the master fader, you don't. In order for us to do that, we create one more stereo routing track, and I like to call it pre-master. Give it a good color like this, and then, as you guessed, everything will go into the pre-master, and we will route this to the pre-master as well. Okay, so now if anything like this reverb, same goes for vocal and beat all, has a signal generator, it will then flow into effects, and effects will flow into pre-master, and pre-master will flow into master. We have a perfect structure. So why are we doing that? Because if you want to use a reference track of someone that you like, you don't want it to have any of your effects on it. You want to have it clean, and master will have only the analyzer tools, like, you know, frequency analyzer, level analyzer, so nothing of that nature that can, you know, do anything with the sound. Only stuff to monitor and see what you're doing, because you're gonna use your ears to hear, and, you know, the master fader, you'll use it just to, you know, analyze digitally, like whatever metering you have. And so the pre-master channel is a master, but for anything to do with the beat, to do with the vocal, and to do with the effects, all right? If you wanted to have like a more complex structure for the beat, you can duplicate tracks, you can add new tracks, you know, just make sure they follow the same routing, whatever it is. For the vocals that you want to be working with, you need to create more stuff, obviously. Hold Shift, Command, and N to pop that window up, and we're gonna create stereo routing folder, and we're gonna create 1, 1, and 1. All of them are gonna be routing folders. First one we're gonna call plus main, another one would be plus back, and the third one will be plus ADLs. So 3 stereo routing folders, main, backs, and ADLs. All right, so we create that. We use them to push the mains into the main, backs into the back, and ad-libs into the ad-libs. You can actually, you know, do it like that if you want, you know what I mean? So that you can fold it, unfold it, but I don't like doing that. I instead just go ahead and use it like so that I don't have to unfold like a gazillion freaking tracks. So I just unfold one, I see everything in front of my eyes. Let's make these purple. We need to route. So mains will go to main, backs will go to back, and ad-libs will go to ADLs. Let's give it a good color. Just right click the routing color. I'll give it that color. For the backs, I'll choose orange, and for the main, I'll choose yellow. All right. Obviously for the beat, I like to create also like this type of routing, because when you want to have, you know, complex sessions with super large numbers of multi-tracks, you want to also separate, because they will become stems. You've probably heard the term stems. When you have like 50 tracks for the beat, you want to create kind of like the same thing as you create mains, backs, and ad-libs for the vocal. You want to create I create 4 types of stereo routing folders, and I just call the first one effects. All of them are stereo. Another one I call drums. The third one I call insters, which is instruments, and the last one I call kick bass. You can also have more if you want. You can have type A instruments and type B instruments, which is kind of correct. But I just go with 4, and you know, if I need more, I can create more. So I'll just do that. I'll make them purple because that's how I like them to be. So I'll of course route these to beat all, like so. And these guys, I forgot to do something. These, instead of master, they of course go to voc all. So then we go to setup, input, output, bus. Let's just do stuff so that it's nice. So we take the master and we'll push it down. Pre-master will be right before the master. Then these guys, you know, let's just give a good color to every one of them. These guys, they're a part of the beat. These guys, they're a part of vocal, and effects is just effects, you know. So here's a basic structure. We'll take a signal generator. There it is. So we'll take a signal generator, we'll establish the signal. So these guys, they go to effects all. Effects all sends the signal to pre-master, which is correct. Then we'll do the same with vocals. So ADL2 sends to ADLs, backs send to back, this sends to main, and then main sends to voc all, back sends to voc all, ADL sends to voc all then sends to a pre-master, kick and bass sends to beat all, same for instruments, for drums, for effects, and beat full will also send to beat all, and beat all will send to pre-master. Pre-master will send to master. Reference will send to master as well. So everything is routed perfectly. This is how I do it. Of course, my session is a little bit more complicated, but this is the exact order that I like using it. Let's get back to our ultimate record, mix, and master template, which accommodates any of these. That's how I work, and I do anything within my template, which I'm showing to you right now. Like I said, you can mix, record, and master in the same template. So let's get it a little bit more complicated. Whatever you want to do, you do with a pre-master. It is the same as a master. It's just one step below. It flows into the master that has nothing in it, but anything that's inside of the pre-master folder will actually have stuff that you want to, work with. Let's just say that, we get a recording session and you want to rap something or whatever, sing something or voiceover or whatnot. So you put your beat over here. Let's just say that the signal generator is our beat. We'll mute the beat all so that we don't hear it. So we'll put it there. See, it's working. Let's say it's a beat. Now you don't have to use this menu anymore. You can just duplicate the tracks and give them new names, and we'll duplicate it like, say, I don't know, like 4 times or whatnot. We'll just call this FX 1. We'll call this drums 1. This would be insters 1, and this would be like the kick bass 1. You can have as many as you want. It'll just be a part of this, and this. you know, if you get a beat with one track, you do it like with a beat full. If you have split tracks, you kind of like put them into folders, and then don't forget to, you know, send this to an FX, send this to drums, send this to instruments, and send this to a kick bass. This could be actually called kick, and then you can duplicate it, and this could be called bass, and then if that's what it is, then that's what it is, you know what I mean? If you don't want to hear it, just click mute. This could be deactivated if you want. You can do it like right click and make active, or make inactive. All right, so the instruments could be like, say, I don't know, like piano. Let's just like randomize stuff. This could be like a string, pad, synth, and they all go to instruments. All right, we can actually emulate if something was in there. And the kick and the bass, I combine them together because putting kicks and the bass into one group yields a better result instead of putting a kick into a drums group. So drums would instead have something like a percussion, hi-hat, snare, tambourine or some shit, and like, I don't know, like a drum roll or whatever. Give it your own colors that you prefer. And then for the effects, it'll be like a, I don't know, let's call it swoosh, riser, boom, and like a slam. All right, and we'll imitate, you know, activity in there. So right now we have all of these guys, they kind of like follow into the beat all. Okay, so if you get to, you know, work with different components of the effects, that's how you combine them. Same goes for drums, for the instruments, and for the kick bass. You can also create or duplicate this group to give it like instruments B type. You know, the first type could be clean instruments that don't interfere with the vocal, and type B instruments could be the ones that kind of clash with the vocal, so you might want to work with them differently. Whenever I have a beat with one track, I hide these guys, and if I have like a separate track out, then I'll just fill the guys. Or when I need to record, I'll use one track, and when I need to mix, I'll populate these folders that actually become the beat all. So in any case, whether I use these or I use a beat full, they all become one beat all stem. Let's stop here with the beat all. Let's go into the voc all. Let's make things a little bit more complex. For instance, you have a main 1 and a main 2, and then, you know, let's duplicate 4 times. We'll call this like a double. I'll just use DBL1 and then DBL2, and I like to give it a blue color like that. They're just, you know, it depends how you record stuff. I just keep those tracks over there, and sometimes I have a copy. Sometimes people want to record in checker fashion where they kind of clash. You know, one vocal sits on top of the other, so I can't record them into one continuous track. I have to divide, otherwise they kind of like cut one another. You know, it doesn't work the other way, so I have to have 2 tracks at least. And so if people want to have one vocal that is going like that, and then they want to have a double, then I'll just have a double in the same fashion. And so these guys, they're gonna be like my, you know, like my main L and main R, and I like to give them green color and put them on top here. So the main L, as you guessed it, will be hard left. This one will be hard right. They're like the left and the right for the chorus, for instance. This would be the chorus, and these would be, you know, the mains. Let's just call this a chorus. There's a marker right there. Let me make it black so that you can see it better. And then this would be a verse. This would be a chorus. I got my own key combination to put the markers, but people would record backs. They usually record 2, but sometimes when one is worse than the other, I mean, what can you do, right? So that's why I record 3. And so if I have backs A, B, C, they look kind of like that. By the way, yeah. So if somebody wants to record, you know, verse backs over here like that, then you know you also can't put them on a chorus. So that's why we make a duplicate of 3 of these, and I give it a little bit of a darker color. And so we'll just imitate that kind of structure. Chorus over there, and then the ad libs will just, you know, run it like one full ad lib or whatnot, like that. This would be pretty much my structure, to have my chorus in the left, right, center fashion. Do that like that. These are left, right, this is a center. Sometimes I just go ahead and have a little bit of that. I mean, it could be anything, you know what I mean? You just figure it out yourself. You know, I'm just kind of imitating the situation here. As you see, when we duplicate, everything remains the same. So the routing of the mains become the main. These guys are the mains. And if you really wanted to, you could just take them, because it's a routing folder, drop them there and hide them if you, I mean, I tried it both ways, but I prefer just to have everything like that and just to know that my things are down there below. I prefer working in the edit window like this, but I need the fader. Sometimes it's not convenient. You can click on a little thing over here. If you click with a shift, it's gonna become a separate window. All right, so let's just do that. We'll have 1 for effects. We'll put it there. 1 for, actually, you know what? We'll start with the vocals. So we'll have 1 for ADLs, you know, to control them. We'll have 1 for the backs. And we'll also have 1 for the mains. Then they follow up into a voc all. See, it's got a different color. You can mute them however you want. You can pull the faders and not having to do it in the individual tracks. You can if you want, it's up to you to decide, but you know, that's how you control them. So if a person is like saying, you know, whoa, can I hear my ad-libs a little bit louder? You just go like that, you know, not having to drag individual track faders up or down. And so same goes for the beat. We'll just take 1 for the kick and the bass. We'll take 1 for the instruments, drums and effects, and 1 for the entire beat, all right? That's how you control everything. I mean, you can switch to this, but I don't like using it, so I just use it like that. I don't need all of them, really. I don't need all of them. I usually just need 1 beat and 1 vocal, like, which is like this and this. I normally just have 1 and 1, because these guys, I don't normally need to like fiddle around with them too much. If I need to, I'll just go down here and I'll just grab and just reduce a little bit. See, if I drag the fader, it'll also drag the number there. Okay, so to reset, Alt click. Yeah, so pretty much if you want to copy like anything more than what's provided in this template, then you do it on your own. I've told you how to do it. It's easy. That's how you pretty much work with your tracks. You can give them your own colors if you want. You can hide them. You can unhide them, whatever you want. Once you have everything set up in this fashion, you can mix. Instead of like using an EQ, like let's just say you did something like that, instead of doing that, you know, and then for instance, you're like, oh shit, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Then you need to, you know, go here, do that, copy the setting and then click here, or just delete the plugin and drag it there. Instead of doing all of that stuff, you can utilize 1 plugin in the entire effects group, you know, boom. So all of the tracks selected right here, these guys, they're gonna be affected with this 1 equalizer. These purple ones become stems. So for the entire beat, you will have an effects stem, a drum stem, instrument stem, kick bass stem, and they become a beat all stem. Same for the vocal. You're gonna have one main stem, one back stem, and one ad-libs. So if somebody wants you to like render out just the main vocals, you just solo this stuff here and you render. And then they're like, oh, you know what? Can I just have the instruments and the drums? I don't need the bass, I just need the percussions. Actually, let's just say somebody wants to perform in the club and they're like, can I have like a full instrumental and just the backs? I don't need anything else. You just go like this and you go like that. You know what I mean? So now you have just the backs and just the full beat working all together, and the rest of them, they don't. Or you can instead, you know, mute that or re-level, whatever you want to do. And then they all become like a pre-master. If you wanted to put like a limiter on your entire track, which is like the master section, you use it on the pre-master, which is effectively the same thing. And then you just, you know, you can do your limiting if you want, and then you just, you know, do whatever you need to do. Now, let's go a step deeper into the rabbit hole, all right? When you work with this, why do we have this like effects over here and how to use it? Let's say we have a reverb, anything. Let's use my favorite reverb, which is EMT 250, whatever setting it is. H delay from waves. Okay, for instance, you don't have these sections. It looks like that. So where are the inserts and the sends? So you click this thing right here. That's where you have the inserts and sends. So I use it like that. I have the two available recs for the inserts and two available recs for the sends. But if you only need one, you can do that if you want. For instance, you want your main, your back, and your ad-libs to have some sort of a reverb and a delay. You can of course put it as an insert, just like that, but then it's a little bit different from when you want to send it, because you can automate the sends and everything. So in order to do that, you just click here in the send section and you choose a hold the phone. Oh, my bad. We created audio tracks for the reverb and the delay, but they're supposed to be actually auxiliary tracks. My bad, we're gonna recreate them now. That's how you troubleshoot. When you see something like this happen, you know what to do. And here we go. You do a stereo aux input 2. You give it that color that I like, and then delete that, call this reverb, delete that, call it delay. So you go to options, setup, input output, you go to bus, and you want to create two auxiliary buses for the reverb and the delay. You know what, we don't need that stuff, so delete path. That's what we got, that's what we need. You're gonna go new path and you're gonna create two stereo buses. We'll call this reverb and call this delay. Click OK, and that's where you select them. So reverb becomes a reverb and delay becomes a delay. Boom, bam, bam. That's how you do it. So now, if you want to send from your main, click in the sends area and you just stereo bus to reverb. You can copy this setting with an Alt key and drag it. And same thing you can do with a delay, and you know, just copy it like that. So for instance, you want to give your main this much reverb, and then to the backs you want to give a negative, I don't know, like 8, and then to ad-libs you want to give it like a full blast. If you shift click on these tracks, you can actually pop these out and they have a different setting in them. Here you go. You know, different setting, whatever you feel like. Listen and adjust. So once you have all the mains, backs, and the ad-libs, you can do just that. So same thing goes for the delays. these, send it to effects all, and back in this window, I like to take these and just put them right there, you know. If we just use the reverb on the main, this is what we get. A reverb, a wet reverb. So it works. Let's summarize real quick. Here's a session. Everything that you see on the screen right now follows into the master. This is where you put your reference file to compare it with. Inside of the pre-master folder, you got 3 subfolders, which are combined stems of the beat all, voc all, and effects all. And inside of the vocal, you have 3 stems that become a full voc all, which are main, backs, and ad-libs. Same thing for the beat. You have kick, bass, instruments, drums, and effects, which also contains stuff in there. Oh, by the way, you can also send, you know, reverb from effects, drums, instruments, kick, bass. Same goes for delays if you want to. It's working like on all of them, and then you wanted to reduce the amount of master effects. You just do that. So you just reduce that if you need to. Or if you want to render out files with no effects, completely dry, you do that, all right? Or if you wanted to do the opposite thing and you just want the effects, then you just solo them out, or whatever combination you want. What else do we want to do? Sometimes you want to use a sidechain, and you might want to use it. I mean, it's a really, really useful function. You can duck instruments, letting the vocals through. Instead of carving things out, you can have a compressor effectively do that for you if you set it correctly. Or you can have bass drum be ducked to a kick. You can also have a reverb being ducked to the main vocal, or a delay being ducked to the main vocals. If the delay is like really strong and then it kind of clouds the performance of the main vocal, you can duck it so that when the main vocal is present, the reverb is suppressed. Sidechain, what it actually means is that you let signal not be a part of your master. It's not a part of your monitoring system. It's just for the program or for the hardware gear. For instance, this SSL right here can also do that. They hear it, but you don't. The end listener doesn't hear it. So that's why they call it sidechain. And in order to do that, in Pro Tools, unfortunately, it only works with a mono. We'll go back to our setup, input and output, bus, and we'll create a new path for the kick and for the vocal. 2. We'll create 2 mono because Pro Tools doesn't see sidechain with stereo. I don't know why, don't ask me, but that's how it works. First one, we'll just call it like VSC, actually SCV, sidechain vocal, and this one would be kick. All right, and we'll create 2 new mono audio tracks. Hell no, aux. This would be SCV, and this would be SC kick. Create. I like to give it a no color like that. These guys, they are supposed to not go anywhere. Shift Alt, you hold them and you press on the output and you give it a no output. Then we'll take the sidechain kick and drag it into the beat all, and sidechain vocal, we'll drag it into the voc all. Now, if you want your bass to duck under the kick, you'll send it to a compressor. Like for instance, Waves R-Comp is what I use by default for sidechaining. And now in its sidechain, you'll go down, you choose mono, bus, sidechain, kick. And then on the kick, you will need to go to send and send it to a mono, bus, sidechain, kick. So now the kick is sending stuff to this group, auxiliary bus, that goes nowhere, but it works. And then this would be auditioned by the R-Comp in the bass, and it'll start working. Same goes for the vocal. Open that group up, and we can use it from any of these, but you can also use it from the main group, which I usually do. In the main, we'll do the same thing. We'll mono, bus, sidechain vocal, boom, full level. It goes to sidechain vocal right here. For instance, you want your instruments to duck under your vocals, right? So we'll just copy that, you know, and now the R compressor of waves, it is going to listen to vocal. Same thing for the effects. You know, you can grab this and put it like there, there, and there. So the effects will listen to the vocal. If you wanted a different sidechain amount instead of the main group, you can grab it, kind of do that if you want. Whatever works for you. This is all I need to do. Now you have control over your individual instruments. You have controls over your subgroups, which are like stems. Then you have control over your main stems, whether it be drums or vocals. Then you have separate effects that are sidechainable. Sidechains work for the main vocal so that anything you want ducks under it. And then you have a sidechain from the kick drum. You can set your own sidechains if you want. The only thing is that, once again, it only works in mono in Pro Tools, and I don't know why. Now, what could be useful for you to use on the master bus? It could be a Voxengo span to see your frequency spectrum. In Pro Tools, if you type width, you have that. It's useful to collapse stereo into mono, and there are two ways to do it. Some plugins, instead of collapsing stereo into mono, they will just turn the stereo off and show you the mid side of the signal. This plugin collapses it. See, width? You just pull it down until it becomes a 0, then it'll just collapse stuff in the mono. So now when you put that plugin before span, you'll collapse and span will see the collapsed signal. So it's up to you how you want to see it. There's a plugin called Isolate. It's a cool plugin. You can mute any region that you want or solo. You can also have auditionable mid and the side. You can have a dim button, and you can have your crossover sections over here for these to work. So it's a really cool plugin. But when the signal is loud and it's at 0, I don't recommend using it because it'll give you a little bit of a crack on the sound. So just audition through it, but when you render, turn it off. You can also utilize something like a Ulean loudness meter. I have a professional version. I bought it. Let's jump into my own template and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is my template, just like the one we did. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you how to save it, right? I'll tell you right now. So here's the session that we finished together with y'all. And what you're gonna wanna do is you go here, and in this window, I've kind of changed a few things to my regular session. So some of these things, they're actually in a different color, but it wouldn't matter for your computer because you're gonna have a different thing. And over here, you're gonna wanna click the apply to all tabs and export settings, and then you just give it a name and you save it. You can save it on your desktop or wherever you need to do it. But this is important to keep this file because, you know, in the inputs and the outputs, they are different settings for different sessions. So if somebody gives you a Pro Tools session from a different computer, they're gonna have maybe a different routing. So you wanna keep your own. This is complicated here because of this. Because of the routing of the matrix of your audio card. And this is pretty complicated to set up. And once you do it, you just wanna, you know, keep the progress, just keep that saved file. So you export your settings, and then whenever you need to load it, you just import, you select the file, and you open it, and then you pretty much do it for every tab, because I tried doing it and it only did it for the bus tabs. It didn't do it for the output. So you import here and you import here as well. And to save the template, all the work that we have done, you click File, Save as Template, and you can choose a pre-made category, or you add your own category, or if you want to do it like completely in a manual fashion, then you click Reveal Session Template folder, and there it is. You can have, you know, your own folder. Let's just call this Test. And now when I go File, Save the Template, it'll have that test over here. So you give it a name, you can do that. And then it'll just populate it here, but that's how you do it. And then the next time that you create it, session 2025, you'll have, you know, create from template over here, and then those are the folders. I have this, and this is my thing. And there it is. Everything is in perfect order, just like we did it. You know what I mean? So everything is in here with everything. So just work on this, see how you like it going, what colors you want, what names you want, and then just utilize this session. Why is it like that? I'm gonna have to figure it out, but yeah, it's because I was showing y'all stuff and I had to delete something, so everything went a little bit sideways, but I'm gonna figure it out.